We found a child on your balcony and have taken them into custody for safety.
On a night when the harsh winter cold persisted, suddenly the doorbell rang. I stepped outside to find a policeman standing there. The air was cold, and the streetlight dimly lit the surroundings. The policeman had a serious look on his face. I was utterly bewildered, unable to comprehend what was going on. Especially since my daughter should have been asleep next to me in bed. Indeed, upon checking the bedroom, my daughter was sleeping peacefully. The child the policeman had brought was a girl around 5 years old. Her lips were pale and her small body was shivering with cold. The sight tightened a grip around my heart. This child is not mine. I don't know her. Despite my words, doubt lingered on the policeman's face. And he mentioned taking the girl to the hospital. The policeman seemed to prioritize the girl's safety, and I respected his sense of responsibility. The girl's hair was long and tangled, and her clothes were dirty and appeared unwashed. Although she looked about the same age as my daughter, she was quite skinny. Her face revealed an indescribable sadness. Who was this child? Why was she on our balcony? I had no idea at that point that a shocking turn of events centering around this girl awaited us. My name is Karen, a 32-year-old office worker. I live with my husband, a high school classmate, and our 5-year-old daughter, Mandy. We are a family of 3. We reside on the first floor of a condominium that our parents bought for us. My husband, also a company employee, frequently travels for work, leading a busy life. Even on weekends, he sometimes substitutes for his colleagues, and hence is rarely at home. One day, while my husband was away on business, and I was home alone with our daughter, the doorbell suddenly rang. Wondering who this child was and why she was on our balcony, my mind raced. The child seemed to be around the same age as my daughter, and I couldn't help but feel tightness in my chest, fearing she might be going through something difficult. I was so worried about this little girl that I barely slept that night, waiting for morning to come. As the morning broke and some time had passed, my husband suddenly called.
I'm on a business trip. Did anything strange happen?
Actually, last night there was an unknown little girl on the balcony, and the police came and took her to the hospital. It was really surprising.
Why didn't you take care of her?
But she's a stranger. I didn't know what to do.
You're a mother, dude. Handing such a small child over to the police is pitiful.
I couldn't hide my confusion at my husband's sudden anger. Amid a mix of surprise and bewilderment, I tried to understand the meaning of my husband's words. How did my husband know the child was small in the first place? I hadn't mentioned that. I posed this question to my husband, but his response was very vague, and he seemed to be choosing his words carefully.
Well, actually, that child is a friend's kid. Her mother is gone, and I felt sorry for her, so I brought her home yesterday. I was planning to ask you to take care of her.
But weren't you on a business trip? Why didn't you explain the situation properly? Thus, sudden circumstances stirred trouble between my husband and me. I pondered how to handle the unexpected situation, and the doubts about my husband's unanticipated actions. Consequently, mistrust was born between us, and I needed to figure out how to resolve it. Although my husband apologized, I couldn't believe he left a small child on the balcony in the cold. Even if she was dressed warmly, it was conceivable that she was shivering from the cold. So, what are you doing and where are you now? My husband said he was looking for the girl's mother, but I sensed he was hiding something. Later, after returning from his trip, my husband explained something to the police, picked up the girl, and unbelievably left her with me. Did you find her mother? What about her father?
No, I haven't found her yet. I don't know about her father.
By the way, who is this acquaintance?
Well, it's just a casual acquaintance. That's enough. I have another business trip for a while.
Wait a minute. What about this child? Ignoring my attempts to stop him, my husband left the house, leaving the girl behind. Feeling that my husband's behavior was strange, I began searching for clues among his belongings, and found something in the inner pocket of his suit jacket. Surprised by what I found, I hurriedly called my husband, but he was already unreachable. Suddenly realizing, both my daughter Mandy and the girl were looking up at me anxiously. Feeling the urgency to ease their anxiety, I knew I had to take some sort of action. What's your name? Even amidst this situation, I felt strongly that I had to do something. The suspicion towards my husband's strange actions and what he was hiding became a big issue in my heart.
Naomi.
Naomi, who told me her name with a slightly nervous, anxious voice, also told me she was the same age as my daughter, 5 years old. When I smiled gently at her, Naomi looked at me with a surprised face, showed a slightly relieved expression, and smiled back at me. However, that smile lasted only for a moment, as soon her stomach growled loudly. "Are you hungry?"
Here.
Smiling at Naomi's cute figure, I began to cook omelet for both my daughter and Naomi. While I was cooking in the kitchen, they were looking at the kitchen impatiently. Once the omelet ready, I brought the plates to the table, and Naomi stared at it curiously, then began to eat voraciously. Her mouth became all messy with ketchup. When I tried to wipe it off with a tissue, Naomi got startled and quickly shielded her head with her hands. This action seemed to tell something, and it weighed heavily on my heart. "It's okay, Karen. I'm just going to wipe your mouth." Speaking gently, Naomi turned her face towards me with a relieved expression. As I wiped off the ketchup, she began eating the omelet again. After finishing her meal, Naomi showed a satisfied expression. As I prepared the bath and helped her undress, I involuntarily gasped upon seeing Naomi's body. "What is this?" The sight before my eyes was unexpectedly painful. Countless bruises were floating on her skin. Trying not to show my astonishment, I composed myself inwardly. If I showed a worried face, Naomi would also become anxious. Smiling gently, I led her towards the bathroom. As I tried to gently wash her body, Naomi hesitated, and then,
"I can do it myself,"
she carefully said and began to quietly pour water into the bath bucket. "Naomi, why?" As I asked softly, she looked back at me with a surprised expression.
"This is what I always do, you know."
You clean yourself with water only?" She nodded a bit shyly. I gently took her hand and began washing her body carefully with soap. After that, as I slowly put hot shower on her, Naomi's eyes sparkled brightly.
"It's been a while since I had such a warm bath,"
she murmured in a soft voice. And a sense of comfort overflowed on her face. Later, when I heard from her, it turned out that she rarely had the opportunity to take a hot shower at home. And her mother, Lena, said,
"Wash your body with water only."
Seeing her accept such a reality as a part of her ordinary daily life tightened my heart even more. After coming out of the bath, her dried hair became silky, and Naomi, who was dressed in my daughter, Mandy's clothes, looked truly radiant, as if she was a different person. Watching Mandy and Naomi playing in the yard through the window, I somehow felt a similar aura around them. Watching the two of them, it felt as if Mandy had found a sister, which made me smile. Naomi had straightforward eyes, and from her actions and expressions, it was evident how much she was seeking affection from the heart. While I was progressing with the cooking in the kitchen, she quietly came by my side and lightly tugged on the hem of my skirt. As I stopped my hands and, "What's up?" I asked, she smiled at me with twinkling eyes. As night deepened, she sat beside me, and during sleep, she wouldn't let go of my hand. On the other hand, my daughter Mandy also seemed to like Naomi very much, and I saw them playing together almost every day. Day by day, their friendship deepened, spending time together as if they were sisters by birth. However, as a week passed, there was no contact from my husband, and I began to feel anxious. I had heard that Naomi's mother was an acquaintance of my husband, but I knew I couldn't keep her at our home with just that information. Before concluding, I tried to contact my husband, but it didn't work out, and I also consulted with the police. Then, making a difficult decision, Naomi was sent to a child welfare institution. Watching her small back as she got into the institution's car, the tears dropping from her tiny eyes struck my heart. Thereafter, there was no contact from my husband, and amidst deep concern, I made a significant resolution. 9 years later, we were living peacefully in a quiet town, with my parents, my daughter Mandy, and Naomi. Actually, during the days following Naomi's departure from the institution, I had decided to accept her as a member of our family. My parents, who were spending time at their ancestral home, also held special feelings towards Naomi.
It was fate that Naomi became part of our family.
They said with words full of affection towards her. Mandy and Naomi spent their days together, strengthening their bond and growing into beautiful, mature women. Both stepped into the modeling industry, which was their dream, and now are being featured as the gorgeous sisters in many fashion magazines. Their activities evolved daily, and their eyes sparkled with a future promise. One bright afternoon, while enjoying a book in the quiet living room of my family home, the doorbell rang. As I slowly opened the door, there stood my visibly exhausted ex-husband, Kevin, alongside a woman I had never seen before. With a gentle smile, she introduced herself as Lena. Concerned about the neighbors' prying eyes, I invited them into the living room. As they settled on the sofa, amidst a tense atmosphere, they suddenly began to speak.
Actually, Naomi is my daughter.
It was a shock, having him appear out of nowhere after years of no contact and dropping such a truth. My astonishment was compounded by his calm demeanor, which was quite unnerving. I could see a resemblance in Naomi. And the woman next to you, is she Naomi's mother? He slowly nodded and began to elaborate on his past with Lena and their relationship. Their acquaintance started in a local bar he frequently visited, where she worked as a part-time employee. Despite knowing well that he already had a family, they grew closer. And eventually, Naomi was born as a result. However, due to his indecisive nature, Kevin procrastinated on divorcing me. On the other hand, Lena, overwhelmed by the new responsibilities of motherhood and exhausted from child-rearing, seemed to have run away from her role. In such a state, a desperate Kevin decided to leave Naomi with me. That alone was a shocking story, but more astonishing events were yet to follow.
Please, I want you to return Naomi to us.
Kevin suddenly stood up from the sofa and, taking a position to kneel before me, started to plead desperately. What are you saying all of a sudden?
Hey, seeing Naomi in the magazine really surprised me. She has become such a notable figure.
So, how does that affect anything? It has nothing to do with our lives, right?
But think about it, I am Naomi's real mother. Compared to that, you're just a substitute, aren't you?
After all these years showing no interest in her. And now you come here claiming this, it's unbelievable. Afterward, Kevin, maintaining a prostrated posture, slowly slid himself closer to my feet.
To be honest, we are facing a very difficult financial situation right now. We want to lean on Naomi's ability. Please, return her to us.
This is unbelievable. Relying on Naomi for livelihood. The very thought is wrong. I absolutely cannot accept this. Kevin raised his voice.
Hey, I'm humbling myself here. What are you thinking? Are you secretly reaping profits by using Naomi? So, honest workers suffer, huh?
I took a deep breath and answered. Kevin, if that's what you think, you are gravely mistaken. The money Naomi and her sister earn is saved in a dedicated account for them. And Naomi is as much a real daughter to me. I will never hand her over to people like you. Suddenly reacting to my words, Lena stood up from the sofa. Her eyes burning with anger, she raised her hand towards me. At that moment, Naomi rushed into the room and yelled.
Mom, don't go any further. Don't hurt my mom.
Naomi stood in front of Lena, glaring at her in a protective stance. Lena, slightly surprised, said,
Naomi, you've grown so much. Do you remember me? I am your real mother. So, come back with me, and let's live as a family.
However, Naomi, tears welling in her eyes, said,
I can't believe that someone like you is my mother. I want you to leave this house immediately.
She ran to me, tightly hugging me and starting to cry. Lena, slightly shaken, said,
Naomi, the memories you have, there might be some misunderstandings. After all, we were both young at that time.
I reacted to her words and took out a letter and a photograph that I had found in Kevin's pocket earlier and showed them to Lena. The letter clearly stated, parenting is hard for me. I can't feel love for Naomi. I've reached my limit. Please take her far away. If you are not positive about marrying me, Let's escape somewhere far away. Just the two of us. It was a desperate message. Furthermore, in the attached photo, we could see the marks of bruises all over young Naomi's body. As if to prove the cause of those bruises, a detailed medical report was also enclosed. I chose my words carefully and asked, "Even in front of these proofs, can you still claim to be conscientious parents?" Although taken aback by my words, she replied in a way that seemed like an excuse.
That was something Kevin decided unilaterally. I didn't know about it. We were young, maybe we couldn't fully bear the responsibility of parenting. But even so, Naomi is our child. That's why I want her back.
I calmly rebutted. But Naomi and I have formally adopted each other. Legally speaking, I am Naomi's legal parent. She was shocked by this fact.
Is that really the case? Such.
She raised a perplexed voice. Seeing Lena's reaction made my feelings even stronger. However, on the other hand, Kevin seemed to have not accepted the situation yet. And as a last resort, he proposed to me.
Then let's cut ties with Lena completely and start over just the two of us. Mandy and Naomi are my real children. Living together as a family like before should solve all the problems.
What the hell? Bringing up such nonsense at this time. Are you planning to act only for your benefit? That's absolutely unacceptable.
Listening to their argument, more than anger, feelings of disbelief and disappointment welled up inside me. I truly wanted to avoid having any further involvement with such ill-natured people. Wait a moment, Kevin. We are no longer in a marital relationship.
What are you talking about?
It's been 9 years since you disappeared. During that time, I proceeded with the legal procedures and our divorce has been officially recognized.
Why did you decide such a thing on your own?
As Kevin tried to attack me in anger, the sound of police sirens began to echo from afar. It seems my parents, sensing danger, had called the police in advance. As you can see, the police are here. Please don't think about coming near our house again.
Karen, please, I'll give up on Naomi. But could you help me out a bit financially?
In the end, Kevin displayed his pathetic figure. He and Lena were taken away in a turbulent manner. I plan to demand alimony from Lena and alimony along with child support from Kevin precisely. As they seem to be isolated from their close ones, more hardships likely await them in life ahead. Through numerous adversities and challenges, the girl who once trembled with anxiety has grown incredibly strong now. Every time I witness this change, my heart fills with boundless joy. When my daughters talk about the future they dream of, their eyes sparkle with hope. I sincerely wish for their dreams to come true. Alongside my beloved parents, and with my two tender-hearted daughters, I plan to spend each day feeling the joy of life.